Have a listen to this. Have a listen to this.
Interest rates are higher. I know people don't like that, but you should be welcoming the stronger economy.
And maybe a deal has a point about the machinery of capitalism being oiled with the blood of the workers.
The United States is a country that has always paid all of its bills.
Lannister always pays his debts.
Don't let the bastards get you.
Hello and welcome back to Comedian versus Economist. Great to have you here. My name's Adam and we're joined as always by my little older brother and real life economist, Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
G'day, Adam. How you going?
Doing good today, doing good. Hey, as always, we're looking at charts on the show. If you want to follow along, you'll find them on Facebook and Instagram at CVE Podcast, as well on the CVE page on the Equity Mates website, equitymates.com/CVE. Thomas, huge show coming up. Australia is now ranked second only to Slovakia, but it's not in Borovitska production, as you might assume. And inflation, deflation, shrinkflation, stagflation. We've got a newflation on the cards. We'll tell you about that one. And you can forget deflation. We're all watching a bit too much of defellatio as porn addiction is on the rise. But first,
I hope people appreciate just how much effort has gone into these laboured puns.
I guarantee
so
there's no other economics podcast where you'll hear about defellatio during the intro. Let's see the NAB morning call do that.
That's right. Yeah. We're going where no other economics podcast dares to go.
Very good.
Wow.
Excellent. All right. We're off track already. Thomas, it's a jobs boom. We've got a jobs boom. And I'm not talking again about defellatio.
Wow. This gets better.
I resisted the urge to take it one step forward when we were talking about jobs. Thomas, jobs, working jobs. Not the other jobs.
Oh, yeah. No, we're pumping jobs report.
There we are. All right, let's leave that there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, well, like an exceptionally good jobs report for September. And kind of it took everyone by surprise. And now markets have completely pushed back their expectations for rate cuts now on the back of this.
Right.
Back now to April for the first cut. Oh. Was it February before that? So it's a big shift out of one jobs report.
This is just Australia jobs or jobs?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Aussie jobs.
Yep.
But this is as good as it can get, really. Like the unemployment rate fell, went down to 4%. That's still a very low number, but yeah, ducked down. 64,000 jobs created in the month. So that's a big number. 51,000 of them were full-time. So that's all very good. And the participation rate just keeps marching on to higher and higher record highs.
Right.
Now above 67%. So yeah, so like more people in the jobs market, they've all got jobs and unemployment's very low. So it's really as good as it can get.
Right. So is this the full employment then that we're talking about? Are we at full employment? Full employment being not quite full, but full?
I think you'd have to say, yeah. I mean, it'd have to be pretty close. There's a bit of talk about this at the moment. The RBA was looking at it. But if it's not 4% unemployment rate, it's got to be pretty close to that.
Right.
Or maybe 3.5%. But yeah, it's pretty tight. I mean, we've still got no wages pressure to speak of. Like there's absolutely zero evidence of a wages breakout. That never happened. And I just don't think Australians are used to wages growth. So they just don't expect wages to go up.
Well, that's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
If wages did go up, though, in line with this kind of jobs boom, like if all of a sudden you did get wages growth, the fact that everyone's in jobs, wouldn't that be really bad for inflation? We have to put rates up again?
Yeah. I mean, yep, that would be the theory. Yeah. But like we didn't get a wages breakout when unemployment got down into the mid threes. So I think it's not going to happen now.
So everyone's happy.
Like,
everyone's happy with their pay. Is that what we're saying? Like,
I don't know.
Because the cost of living crisis is still rolls on. We've got we've got huge employment. Everyone's in a job, but no one's getting pay rises. Are they either not asking, or is the man keeping us down, Thomas? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's the man. It's the man.
That man again.
I think we've just created a culture of just not asking for pay rises, and I think part of that's about the breaking the back of the union movement over the past 20, 30 years. That sort of just changes the culture. And I think like there's just generations of workers that have just never asked for a meaningful pay rise. So
right. Well,
it's just not happening.
And we don't really want to encourage people to do that because otherwise that'll kickstart inflation again. So stay complicit, people. Stay complicit.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, all the other way to think about it is that, you know, Labor should be advocating for a bigger share of the profits pie. But, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to lead to inflation, like, because there's profits and some of that goes to the owners of capital, some of that goes to Labor. You know, you could shift the share without shifting the cost base, in theory. But we never talk about that because that's a bit Marxist.
Okay. All right. We feel free to talk about anything on this show, Thomas. We started with fellatio, so everything's on the table.
Yeah, we'll rise up, comrades, and seize the factors of production until you get a better pay rise.
All right, Thomas, Australia leading the world again, though, this time not what we'd hope, I suppose, not what we're hoping for. Inflation, we're right up there, leading the world. Yeah,
so the IMF came out and published their forecasts. They do this regularly. And in 2025 has looking for inflation in Australia of 3.6%. And that has us beating off every country in the world, save for Slovakia.
Save the beating off every country in the world until the porn section, Thomas. That's coming up later. Right. So except for Slovakia, we're killing it. We're not killing it. The inflation's too high.
Inflation's too high. So that's still well outside the target band at 3.6%. And like third is 2.7%. So it's quite a step down from... So Slovakia they're looking for 4.8%, then it's down to us at 3.6. The next country down to Slovenia at 2.7, and then everyone else is in the twos.
Right.
So really outlier there. And Slovakia, I don't know what's going on there. I didn't research it, but they are next door to Ukraine. So I think that would potentially drive a bit of inflation.
Yeah.
Being neighbours to a war zone. So Australia is the real outlier there.
Is that because they might get produce from Ukraine or something, and now it's harder?
Yeah, that'd be my guess without doing any research.
Maybe cost of paprika might have gone up.
But
big ingredient in goulash, popular in Slovakia. As I was doing my research for the show, Thomas.
Oh, right. You're doing some research. Why didn't you just research what's driving inflation in Slovakia? That would have been more useful.
I didn't. I researched what Slovakia are famous for. One of the things is goulash. And then I went down the goulash rabbit hole, as you do. I'm sure we've all been there, searching for goulash recipes.
Oh, well, that's the data-driven insight that people come here for.
Right. So I noticed like we're the only ones above, us and Slovakia are the only ones above 3%.
Yeah, so the IMF pretty much came out in this report and said, job done, everybody. Inflation is beaten. We declare victory over inflation. Oh, except for you, Australia, you've still got inflation.
You're still terrible. Yeah. But then we're like, but we got heaps of jobs and everyone's happy. So we're not going to bring rates down. So when does rates going down? Does this mean? I mean, because they've forecast for next year, right? The rate. They're saying it's still going to hang above 3% next year, and we'll be the only one of two countries above 3%.
Yeah, on that basis, it'll push rate cuts back even further if that comes to pass. The IMF the government noted that their forecasts were higher than the RBA's and Treasuries, but they're also not reasonable. The IMF's gone, we don't reckon you're on the money there. I reckon it's going to be higher.
They got a lot on though. The IMF, they've got a lot of. I mean, they're looking at the whole world and all the countries. It's. I would. No issues from me if they just gave each one a bit of a cursory look. You know what I mean? Like, like they're just like, high level sort of stuff. Flick through, quick.
Just sampled 3 goods at Woolworths and like,
quick browse. That's how I'd approach it.
They probably got Chat GPT to write it.
Yeah, of course they did. Yeah, it's the whole IMF is actually run by AI now. It's quite amazing.
AIMF.
AIMF. There we go. Yeah, perfect. All right, let's take a break here, grab a word from this week's sponsor, and be back with more Comedian versus Economist in a moment. Welcome back here on Comedian versus Economist. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at CVE Podcast or on the Equity Mates website, equitymates.com/CVE. And Thomas, we've got a newflation alert, cheapflation. Tell me about cheapflation.
Yeah. So the context for this is why like inflation's come down in, as we're saying, in the majority of countries, particularly in the US, but everyone still feels like they're struggling to pay the bills. Harvard's Alberto Cavallo released a report and saying one of the reasons he reckons why people are still feeling the pressure is because of what he calls cheapflation. And so he looked at data in 10 countries, I think in the G10. And what he's saying with cheapflation is that the stuff's gone up, but the cheaper stuff has gone up more than the more expensive stuff.
Right. So like by a percentage. So cheap stuff went up 10% and then expensive stuff went up 5%. So
something like that. Yeah.
Right.
And so like you imagine like a packet of muesli or something, the name brand stuff might have gone up 10%, but like your home brand muesli went up 20, 30% or something like that.
Right.
And so he's saying that's why people are feeling the pressure, because often what happens when you have an inflationary period is people trade down, is that they let go of the name brand goods and go to your home brand stuff in order to save money. But that strategy hasn't been available to them this time because the home brand stuff has become more expensive, and the difference between your name brand and your home brand has narrowed.
Does that mean then that the home brand is getting closer in price to the name brand?
Yeah.
Right. So we can all enjoy the name brand stuff then.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I guess you can't afford, if you can't afford the name brand, they're saying that's the problem because you can't drop down.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing I love more than name brand muesli, that's for sure. Worth every cent.
So and that's why it feels like expensive, or why you can't escape inflation at the moment. Which makes
what do we do about it? Well, first of all, why is that the case?
His theory was that the home brand stuff has narrower margins. And so the things that drove the inflation, which is all your supply shocks out of COVID, they have a bigger impact on your home brand things because they feed directly through into prices, because the margins are very small. There's no spending on marketing and those sort of things. So your actual inputs are a larger proportion of your total price.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you have a supply shock and the cost of inputs goes up, home brand just has to feed that through.
Right. I wonder if that still affects Audi products, because Audi get all their marketing done for them by the owners of the actual products, and then they just make their products look like theirs. So because Audi is effectively all home brand, right? In a sense, like they're all Audi made, wheat bricks as opposed to wheat bix. That just coincidentally is exactly the same color as the wheat mix box. So what do? We just hope the input costs reduce again and that everything settles back, or?
That's sort of the idea, yeah. The supply shocks are over.
Yeah.
We've sort of got past that.
Right.
So in the absence of that, the differential should open up a bit again.
Well, there's no doubt Coles and Woolworths will both pass on those savings once they come through. Absolutely.
Well, this is the other thing. Cavallo said he found no evidence of greedflation. So he's saying retailers and manufacturers, he didn't find evidence that they boosted their margins during the period. Which I don't know. I've seen some evidence that suggests that's not entirely the case, but who knows?
You might want to give Four Corners a call. See what they've got. All right, Thomas, clear your schedule and clear your browser history. We're talking porn. I feel like we've wasted so many good porn puns already as we've gone through the show. What's going on? There's porn addictions on the rise.
Yeah. So there's a chart here we're looking at, which is the top 10 addictions that Americans are searching for help with.
Yep.
Number 1 is porn. Then there's alcohol, gambling, opioids, and so on. But it's porn and almost nothing else. So 30,000 monthly searches for porn addiction. Dropped down to alcohol at 9,000, gambling at 6,000, opioids at 5,500. So porn's pretty much, you look at the top 10, porn is bigger than the bottom 9 combined.
I wonder how, it's huge. It's really surprising. And I really want to take this whole segment seriously. I'm just going to put that out up top because I'm trying my best here. But I wonder how accurate the data is, where if they're talking about Google searches, right, or web searches, presumably Google searches. So there's a lot of margin of error when you're looking at people's search history with regard to porn, surely.
Yeah.
How do you know if they're searching for help with an addiction for porn, as opposed to just searching for some kinky shit that's even help me with porn is just a 9-year-old or 12-year-old going, 9's a bit young, sorry. Going, how do I find it?
I don't know. He's doing a meta search for he's publishing an article on how to find porn.
Oh, there definitely would be.
How to find porn.
Of course there would be.
Oh man, maybe.
100% there have to be.
Yeah. I mean, I hope the researchers are screening out searches like porn and sexy nurse or something.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, surely that's not in the data.
Well,
I'm sure it's around addictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
I reckon I believe it. I mean, what's staggering? It's just staggering to me that it's just porn and nothing else. Alcohol, gambling even, alcohol and gambling don't even come close to half of the porn searches.
Yeah. That's what makes me think it's overblown. Somehow there's been some rogue data got in there.
I don't know. I mean, I think you think about it
was some data dressed in a pool cleaner's disguise who knocked on the door unexpectedly.
I've got no way to pay for this data. Yeah. But I think the other stat I saw, which is terrifying, is you look at help for erectile dysfunction. There's an Italian study I saw a generation ago. There were no young people getting help, seeking out help for erectile dysfunction. Now 1 in 4 people under 40 are seeking out help for erectile dysfunction, and we sort of know this around porn, is that it just messes up with your wiring and destroys your, at its extreme, destroys your ability to even have sex. And so 1 in 4 people getting to a stage of it's so bad that they're seeking help for erectile dysfunction. That's pretty intense. And it wouldn't surprise me that, just how accessible it is, that people are, accessing it so young, teenage boys. I can't imagine how messed up it just having that much porn available to you. It's going to mess you up.
It's a click away. It's literally just
right there.
Right there. So yeah, maybe you're right. And we shouldn't make. Yeah, I'm not here to make light of it either. It's obviously an addiction, and people getting help with it, and that's good. So
I don't know. Regulate them, ban them. I reckon there's a disaster in the making.
Regulate who? The porn makers? The
porn industry, yeah. I don't know. That's my view, my hot take.
Well, we can't even regulate social media.
Yeah.
How are we going to regulate?
Yeah.
And isn't it a lot of it user-generated now, like OnlyFans and stuff?
Yeah, the horse is probably bolted, but...
It's not all the horse did from the websites I've seen. Sorry. I'm sorry. I was trying my best.
You did so well for so long. I mean, I was impressed actually. You did really well.
All right, let's get out before we say something really, really bad. Thank you for joining us once again on Comedian versus Economist. That's all for us for this week. We look forward to talking to you again next week. Until then, it's bye for now.
Comedian vs. Economist is a product of Equity Mates Media. All information in this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional finance, legal, or tax advice. The hosts of Comedian vs. Economist are not financial professionals and are not aware of your personal financial circumstances. Before making any financial decisions, you should read the product disclosure statement and, if necessary, consult a licensed financial professional. Do not take financial advice from a podcast. For more information, head to the disclaimer page on the Equity Mates website where you can find ASIC resources and find a registered financial professional near you. In the spirit of reconciliation, Equity Mates Media and the hosts of Comedian vs. Economist acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today.